Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the concert hall. We're going to talk about the one resource that every single performance depends on, but that you probably never even think about: time itself.
You know the scene, right? The wild gestures, that look of pure passion on their face. We see the conductor and we think, pure artist. But what if their most critical job, the thing they really do, is a lot closer to being a project manager? All right, let's really get into this. There's this one powerful idea from Guillaume Osiris Hübner's research, and it's all summed up in this one sentence. And trust me, it completely reframes everything you thought you knew about that person on the podium.
So to really get it, we've got to start by challenging that romantic, kind of dramatic image of the maestro that we all have in our heads.
Look, the myth of this mystical, artistic genius, it's compelling, for sure, but it's only half the story. The reality? Well, the research shows that a conductor is actually an expert manager. They're coordinating dozens of people, all these complex moving parts, and they're doing it all against the clock. It's intense.
And here's the crazy part. This whole managerial role has been hiding in plain sight for years. I mean, for decades. All the books and classes on conducting, they've focused on the what, the musical skills. But they've pretty much ignored the how. Like, how do you actually run an efficient rehearsal? So, the classic training. It's all about things like your hand gestures, how to study the score, how to spot an error. And yeah, that stuff is absolutely vital, of course. But what the research points out is this huge gap. There's almost no specific advice on how to manage the rehearsal itself as a structured process.
So, you might be asking, what changed? Well, pretty much everything. After World War II, the music industry was totally transformed by new economic and legal pressures. Rehearsals got way shorter and a lot more expensive. All of a sudden, managing time wasn't just a nice-to-have skill, it became a critical survival skill. And that brings us right to the heart of this research. It's time to stop thinking of a rehearsal as just, practice. We need to start seeing it for what it really is: a structured, manageable process.
Now, when we say process, we don't just mean a random bunch of stuff happening. A real process has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has defined steps, and it's all designed to take some kind of input and turn it into a specific output. In this case, it's about turning a stack of sheet music into a totally flawless performance.
Okay, so to really understand the big picture here, we've got to zoom way in, down to the smallest possible building blocks. The research has a great name for these: microprocesses.
And this is where things get really fascinating. The study actually breaks down these simple activities that we just take for granted. And it shows that they aren't simple at all. They're highly structured procedures with their own inputs, their own specific steps, and really clear outputs.
Just think about an orchestra tuning up. To us, it just sounds like a bunch of noise, right? Kind of chaotic. But it's not. It's a formal microprocess. This flowchart from the research shows it perfectly. It's a step-by-step procedure, full of decision points and little verification checks. It's all designed to get the entire ensemble perfectly aligned before they even play a single note of the actual music.
And it's the exact same logic for a choir. A vocal warm-up, it's not just about singing a few scales up and down. Nope. It's a specific microprocess that's designed to physiologically prepare the voice for what's coming. It has defined steps and checks to make sure every single singer is ready for the demands of the performance.
So at the end of the day, the conductor's job is to manage all of these tiny little microprocesses. But why? What's the ultimate goal here? Well, it's to guide the entire group of musicians from a state of complete and utter disorder to a state of perfect, unified harmony.
To really explain this journey, the research borrows a super powerful concept from, of all places, physics: entropy. It's pretty simple, really. Just think of high entropy as chaos and low entropy as pure order.
And this idea of entropy perfectly illustrates the whole journey. A rehearsal starts out in a state of super high entropy, right? You've got dozens of musicians all playing their individual parts. It's sonic chaos. But then, through the conductor's careful management of time and process, that chaos is slowly, piece by piece, reduced until you finally achieve low entropy, one single, beautiful, cohesive performance. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. A case study in the thesis actually tracked how time was spent across 2 different rehearsals. For example, when they were first reading a Saint-Saëns piece, all the time was spent just getting the basic notes and rhythms right.
But by the second rehearsal, time was shifted to focus on the nuance, things like the dynamics and accompanying the soloist. You can literally see time management evolving as the piece moves from chaos toward order.
So what does all this mean? It brings us to a new, and I think much more complete understanding of who that person on the podium really is.
The conductor isn't just an artist. They're a high-stakes manager. They're a planner, meticulously structuring the entire rehearsal from start to finish. They're a coordinator, juggling all these complex, interdependent musicians. They're the head of quality control, spotting errors and fixing them on the fly. And maybe most importantly, they are a master time optimizer, making every single second count.
So here's the bottom line. That breathtaking, goosebumps on your arm beauty of a live concert, it doesn't come from magic. It's built on a foundation of rigorous, relentless, and almost completely invisible process management.
And you know what? The lesson here is absolutely universal. It doesn't matter if you're launching a rocket, building an app, or starting a business. Any great complex project is really just the sum of countless small, well-managed, and perfectly timed steps.
So, I'll leave you with a final question to think about. The next time you're listening to an orchestra and you get completely swept away by the music, will you just hear the notes, or will you also hear the time? The incredible, masterful management of time that made it all possible.